Have you ever watched those Planet Earth shows on BBC or on Netflix or anything like that? I don't know about you, but our family loves watching that. Maybe that's an overstatement. I love watching that with my family. We really enjoy it because of the vast landscapes, the beauty that's really unseen for most people throughout the world. And it really helps when you have a really cool British guy talking over it, explaining all of those things. I love those shows because what it does is it draws me into God's creation. It gives me a glimpse into the beauty and the majesty of all that God has to offer for us. And when I think about creation, we often go to Genesis 1, and we think about how God created the world in the 7 days and all that. But in the Gospel of John, we read another account of creation. And what we read in this account, in John chapter 1, is that it's not just God the Father who is over all, creating all, but we read about how Jesus the Son is also a co-creator with God. There's actually this historical belief, this historical heresy that teaches that Jesus was the first of all creation. But that's not actually true. Jesus was with God from the beginning, and he was co-creating along with God. And we read about this in John chapter 1. In John 1, starting in verse 1, we read this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. I love even the fact that we're outside right now in this beautiful landscape. As we admire God's creation, we see the creation and the beauty and the majesty of God the Father and God the Son, Jesus Christ, who created all these things. When we think about God's creation, we think about how God has provided all things for us in the beautiful things like this, but even in the mundane things as well. One of the things that we're going to be focusing this week in the Advent series is on the miracles of God. We're going to be talking about how you're going to hear stories from individuals about big and small ways that Jesus is God and that Jesus takes care of us through his creation and through other means as well. And one of the ways that this has actually played out in my life is when I was in college. So in college, I was the janitor at my church that I grew up at. I was making pretty much minimum wage, and was in school full-time as well as working at the church about 30 hours a week. And I lived with some friends of mine. So I was pretty poor at the time and didn't have much margin. And in fact, there was a really rough season that I was going through that one day my mom shows up at my front door. Like, I wasn't expecting her. And she knocks on my door. I answer it. I see her. And she says, "Hey, Dustin, I'd love to take you grocery shopping." So we get in my truck and we go grocery shopping, and says, "Hey, you've got $50 to buy whatever you want to buy." I said, "Okay." So we started shopping. I was trying to be really frugal about it and get the essentials and leave the non-essentials behind. So initially I got some ice cream because that seems pretty essential, right? But I decided, okay, you know what? I don't need ice cream. I should probably just get some more like chicken and rice. So I put away the ice cream. I put away a few other things that just aren't necessary. There wasn't any salad in there at all. Because that for a 20-year-old guy, that's not necessary. So I got, I think, everything that I thought I needed. And then she said, "Hey, do you feel good about this?" And she said, "Hey, why don't you get $25 more?" So I got a few more dollars worth of groceries. And at that time, my cupboards were empty. Like, all me and my 3 roommates, like, we had almost nothing. And so it was an incredible gift of God. As we're loading up in my truck, she looks over at me, and maybe she looked over at the dashboard, and she says, "Dustin, how you doing on gas?" And I just broke down crying at this point. I was sobbing because I was on empty. Maybe she'd already seen this, but she goes, "Hey, let's go get some gas." And she filled up my tank with like $40. So the next day, I'm living high on the hog. I've got $75 worth of groceries, and my brother comes over unexpectedly with his wife, and he says, "Hey, how you doing? I just dropping by. I'm in the neighborhood." And he goes, "Hey, do you have anything to eat?" So I said, "Yeah, I got some food." He ends up eating me like half of the food I had just gotten. him and his wife had just eaten like half of it in 1 hour. And I was so sad. Like, I had just gotten all this, and now it was being taken away again. And after we visited for a while, he walks out the door. I say goodbye to them. I go back inside the house, and I see a little piece of paper folded up on my desk. And I open it up, and it's a check for $100. My brother had written a check for $100. And he had, I don't know, I can't explain it in any other way, but that God compelled him to take care of me. And as I look back at that story, it's easy to think about miracles being these vast, incredible movements of God, but Jesus provides for us in other ways as well. He provides in just the simple things like giving somebody, $50 worth of groceries or $40 of gas or $100 to take care of whatever needs you may have. And it was incredible to see Jesus show up in incredible, intangible ways. And as I think about Jesus as God, I think about how he prompted my mom and my brother in back-to-back days to take care of me. And he does the same thing with all of us as well. He's not just the creator of the beauty that surrounds us. He's the creator of the mundane moments around us as well. He's our provider. He's the one who takes care of us. And that's what we're talking about this week, is that Jesus is God, that he is provider. He is the creator of all things, and that he has our best in mind. He wants to lead us into a relationship with him where we experience him as the light of our lives, as the provider of our means. And I hope that you'll be reminded of that this week as we celebrate Advent.